In looking at how things change over time and studying the six kingdoms, we can't talk about that without looking at this man here, Charles Darwin. And in the 1800s, he took a 5-year trip around the world on a ship called the HMS Beagle and took lots of notes and observations about living things all over the world and compared them to not only things that were alive at that time, but a lot of fossils that he found. And he's credited with coming up with the explanation for how things change, and that explanation is natural selection. And basically what he noticed is that in populations, there were lots of variations of traits. And these traits may or may not have any advantages for the particular environment at any time. However, if there's a change in the environment, one of those variations may be more suited than others. So in this example here, we see some rabbits that are very fast, some that have medium speed, and some that are slower. If there's a change in the environment in which wolves move into this particular population in this area, all of a sudden the trait for the fastest rabbits become more fit or more suited for that environment. Those are the rabbits that are going to survive, and those are the ones that will pass their genes to the next generation. Over time, you may see that this species of rabbit becomes a lot faster because of natural selection. So basically, in Darwin's theory of natural selection for speciation, or the formation of a new species, we have these variations that were already there within a population. There could be an environmental change that causes one of those variations to be better suited or more favorable. Those organisms that have that trait will survive and pass those genes on to the next generation. And over time, we'll see that trait become more frequent and see possibly a new species form over time. There were 4 main things that supported evolution that he studied, or we study today, and that's fossil evidence, comparative anatomy, comparative embryology, and comparative biochemistry. And this last one is really more in modern times than in the 1800s when Darwin did his work. So remember that an adaptation is anything that an organism has that increases its chances of survival. So just to kind of go over that, we know 2 examples of adaptations are camouflage and mimicry. Camouflage is where it can blend in with its environment or kind of stay hidden. Mimicry is where it looks like something else that might give it an advantage to either hide or scare others thinking that it might be poisonous. Remember, variations within a species. Darwin was able to look at a lot of these through the fossil record and look at the fossils that he found that were found all over the world and compare these to organisms that lived during that time. And he saw lots of similarities. In those similarities, he noticed sometimes that things were more alike or they were more different. So let's look at that. So as things change, they can become more alike, called convergent evolution, or they can become more different, called divergent evolution. In convergent evolution, you see things like homologous structures, where there are things that once shared a common ancestor, but now, because of different environments, they look very different. So in divergence, they got more and more different over time. Things that may have caused this to happen are different types of reproductive isolation. So you have behavioral isolation, where they have different courtship rituals, maybe a song, maybe a dance. Geographic isolation, where there's a physical barrier, like a lake or a river or a road because of humans going in and inhabiting an area, or temporal isolation, and that's where they reproduce at different times. We also know that evolution can happen very slowly over a long period of time or in short bursts. So those are 2 your vocab words, gradualism and punctuated equilibrium.